So the 2023 season has just ended. We have our draft order, at least for those not going to the playoffs. And let's be honest, if you're here, your team's not going to the playoffs. So I'm just going to go through. We're not going to do any trades in this one. We are going to check out what we can do with people staying where they are. Once we get past free agency, I'll for sure do one with trades. I might throw one in there if I get enough requests for it. But first and foremost, the Bears are up. Caleb Williams is probably the pick. I don't think Justin Fields has done enough to for sure lock up that spot. Honestly, though, there's a chance that they trade back. Washington's going to be interested. New England needs a quarterback. The Giants, they paid Danny Dimes too much. The Titans, if they like Will Levis, they'll keep rolling with him. Atlanta needs a quarterback. The Vikings might end up needing a quarterback. Denver needs a quarterback. The Raiders need a quarterback. So there's a lot of teams that are probably going to be trying to move up to number one. It's all about how far are they willing to drop down. But Caleb Williams is probably going to be the number one overall pick, whether it's the Bears or someone else. At number 2, Washington. I don't like Drake May. I don't think that he is that great. I think that especially as we get through the combine and pro days, Jaden Daniels is going to move up over him. Washington 100% is taking a quarterback. They're going to have a new GM. They're going to have a whole new front office, all new coaches. They're going to want their guy. Sam Howell did plenty to show that he is not the guy, and I don't want another North Carolina quarterback. Drake May, in the games that I watched him in college, did not impress me that much. People have compared him a lot to Justin Herbert. I think he's far more Daniel Jones, and that's just not enough for me to want to take him second overall. Third, Patriots. I think they'll take him. They also desperately need a quarterback. They will probably also have a new coach. I think it's time that Belichick's going to move on. Who knows where he'll be? He'll probably get another coaching job if he wants it, just because he is still one of the most accomplished of all time. But he wants that all-time win record, and it's not going to happen in New England. So they're going to have to get their quarterback of the future because Mac Jones and Bailey Zappi aren't it. Cardinals are up. Marvin Harrison Jr. They have announced that they're moving forward with Kyler Murray, so they need to give him another weapon. They also need to protect him better, but Marvin Harrison Jr. is possibly the best overall prospect in the draft, so if he drops to 4, they're going to sprint to the podium to take him. The Chargers are up, and what we're going to do with the Chargers is probably the tackles are the best value here. It's not their greatest need. Brock Bowers would be so fun to see with Justin Herbert, but I think you just got to go with the value. And to me, Fashanu is better than Alt. They're both good, but I think Fashanu is going to have the better career. You're up to the Giants. They need help on offensive line. They need a wide receiver desperately, and that's honestly where I'm going to go. Malik Neighbors makes the most sense here. He's a position of need. He's easily the second wide receiver in the draft, and so that's the direction that they're going to go. The Titans are up. They need offensive line help, Joe Alt. Now it's going to start getting interesting because we're out of the surefire top 1 or 2 guys at the top 3 positions that this draft seems to have. So you're going to drop to number 8. The Falcons need a quarterback, but this is not the spot to probably take one. This is not the order that I would have these quarterbacks in. To me, Penix and Nix are going to be the next 2 off the board. McCarthy, I think he goes back to school. Shador seems to be going back to school. Quinn Ewers is going back to school. Cam Ward, I think, is coming out in the draft. But Penix and Bo Nix are the next 2, and this is too high to take them, although people overdraft quarterbacks all the time. So, all that to say, Falcons, I'm going to give them an edge rusher, give them Dallas Turner from Alabama. Position of need, you build on the lines and hope you can get, maybe they're going to target Russell Wilson or another, trade for a veteran quarterback. There's going to be some options that we're not really thinking all the way through. Kirk Cousins could be a possibility as well if he doesn't get paid in Minnesota. Bears are back on the clock. We had them take Caleb Williams, so they're going to need to make sure that he's protected, or they're going to need to build their defense. Wide receivers, they're okay. They're not like elite. But I don't see them spending a top 10 pick on a quarterback and a wide receiver. I think they'll build one of the lines or go corner. And to me, Kool-Aid McKinstry is the best corner in this draft. So that's where I'm going. I like Brock Bowers. I think that he is a top 10 talent. And so that's why he's not going to drop past the Jets. I'm going to give them Brock Bowers. I think just Cole Kmet's had a really good season with the Bears, and they took a quarterback first overall in this scenario. So maybe they try to balance that out and get a corner. Brock Bowers, he's not making it all the way to 10, I don't think, especially if he shows in his medicals that he's completely healthy. So Vikings are up. If they do not pay Kirk Cousins to keep him around long term, then we're going to have some issues trying to figure out what to do here. They desperately need a quarterback. They could use a lot of secondary help. Terrion Arnold is here from Alabama. They could go Chop Robinson on the with an edge rush. Cooper DeJean from Iowa. I'm tired of hearing them call him a safety. I'm going to give them Cooper. And we're gonna keep it moving. They'll figure out their quarterback. I think they'll end up paying Kirk. It makes too much sense not to. Broncos, they're going to be a team that probably tries to trade around or move up, or they're going to try to get active to figure out their quarterback situation. But until they do, we're going to have to give them some defense probably. So I'm going to go with Newton out of Illinois, best defensive tackle in the draft. And the Raiders are up at 13. Another team needs a quarterback. Look, they even say quarterback needs is the top team need. Aiden McConnell is not it. I think he's a good backup, but he is not going to be the quarterback of the future for Las Vegas. I really hope they keep Antonio Pierce as their coach. He did a lot for them, I think. But the way things go, interim coaches just never seem to stay. I think wide receiver is not going to be the move, even though Keon Coleman is an absolute monster, as Rome Odunze is as well out of Washington. I think J.C. Latham is probably the best option here. He is best value at a position of need, and we will move on to the Saints. They also need to build their lines. They need to figure out quarterback if they're, I guess they got no real other choice but to stick with Derek Carr. He played really well today at the time of this recording to get them into the playoffs. So maybe they try to protect him with Fuaga from Oregon State. They might try to build the edge. Cam Jordan's getting old. He could play. I think he can keep playing. I like Jeremiah Trotter. Jared Verse is a monster out of Florida State. Before the season started, Jared Verse was like a top 5 pick across most of the boards. Fell off a little bit this year, but he is still an elite talent. That part has not changed. And then Jeremiah Trotter, he's a big-time position of need. I don't know that his value makes a ton of sense right here, but people reach all the time. I'm going to go ahead and give them Terrion Arnold corner. And it's not the biggest need, but it's probably the best player on the board that's not a wide receiver. The Colts are up. They also don't need a wide receiver. Between Pierce and Pittman's the big body, and both of these guys are big body, Keon Coleman especially. I'll probably go edge rush and give them Chop Robinson here. Anthony Richardson's going to be back. They're going to be fine. They almost made the playoffs this year with essentially Gardner Minshew starting more than half the year. The Seahawks are up. They need offensive line, and they need defense. They cannot stop the run to save their life. Jeremiah Trotter seems to be a great option, and that's just what I'm going to do. Jeremiah Trotter, continue the line of great linebackers that have played for the Seahawks. And we're going to move on to the Jaguars, who just completely crapped the bed this year. How do you start out 8-3 in the AFC South and miss the playoffs? I don't know if Trevor Lawrence is going to show that he is the guy long term, but they're not going to move on from him yet. It's way too early to do something like that. Their defense needs a lot of help, and their run game needs a lot of help for consistency. ETN had 40-yard runs once a game, but as far as consistency of just dominating clock, and I don't know. It just didn't work. But I'm going to give them some defense, and I'm going to go Jared Verse, get them a pass rusher because it sounds like Josh Allen might try to leave. They might end up franchise tagging him, but you're going to need depth because you're either going to have to pay him a crap ton, so you're going to need somebody on a rookie deal, as well as, forgive me, I can't remember the guy they drafted in the first round, first overall pick. It's escaped me. But I know that they take an edge rush recently, but it's still a position of need, and Verse is versatile. So Bengals, we are going to give them a wide receiver to replace T. Higgins, Keon Coleman. There you go. Packers also need a wide receiver, but they need other things more, like offensive line. Fuaga from Oregon State goes here. Jordan Love, 30 touchdowns, 32, I think, maybe, with only 11 picks. Feeling Aaron Rodgers-esque. And as a Washington fan who hasn't had a franchise quarterback in years, if the Packers have found another Hall of Fame quarterback, way too early to say it. Okay, but if they found a Pro Bowl quarterback, I'm pissed. Like, you guys don't know how good you have it. But if you have, congratulations. If you're a Packers fan watching this, congratulations. Buccaneers, it says quarterback, but it sounds like they're going with Baker Mayfield, at least for another year. But maybe Baker's the perfect guy to be able to draft a quarterback and sit him behind him. I'm going to go Michael Penix here. And he's going to, sit behind Baker for at least half the year, and then he'll start, and then we'll see what happens. Cardinals, back up on the clock. They need defense, and they need it pretty badly. I like Nate Wiggins. I like Latu. That's about it. Leonard Taylor's really good as well out of Miami. Sweat's not bad out of Texas. But I'm going to go Nate Wiggins. We're going to give them some secondary help. And then the Rams, they need to build on the lines. We're going to get them Latu. Steelers are up. They need a quarterback because Kenny Pickett clearly is not it, even though, I don't know, they've made the playoffs because Mike Tomlin's a wizard, and doesn't matter the team that you give him, he's going to have at least 500 record. It's wild to watch, but they need to build the offensive line desperately, so whoever they put in can do something. Let's look at tackle. No centers this high. Donovan Jackson from Ohio State. We're going to give them an interior lineman because I think at this point in football, that tends to almost be as important as the tackle. You got to stop the pressure straight up the gut. Bills are up. They need secondary help. Kitchens from Miami is a high-level safety. Will be a great fit there. Eagles are up. They have fallen apart. Not sure what is going on with the Eagles. They lost to the Giants. They were 10-1, I think, coming into Thanksgiving, finishing the year, 11-6? It's bad. I can't say much because my team's 4-13, but it's bad. They need some help. They could use a third wide receiver, but I don't think that's what you would use your first round pick on. They need some secondary help. Their defense was actually pretty bad. So let's go Denzel Burke. Let's get them some secondary help. Darius Slay's getting a little older. They lost Gardner Johnson last year. They need help on that secondary. Chiefs are up. Another team that has been struggling a little bit. They're putting them together and getting wins more than the Eagles have, but their offense looks stagnant, at least compared to what we're used to. They need a stud wide receiver, but they do not spend draft capital on that ever. But I'm going to give them Rome Odunze because it's just unfair that he has fallen this far. And if he does get there, he's going to be a monster for Patrick Mahomes and that offense. Texans are up. I don't know if anybody here watched my prediction video before the 2023 season. I made 4 predictions. I, for the life of me, don't remember the 4th one. But the 3 that I got right, Bengals would miss the playoffs. Texans would make the playoffs. And Aaron Rodgers would get injured the first week of the season. I feel bad about that last one, but honestly, proud of myself for the Texans call and the Bengals call. I know the Bengals took a injury to get them there, and they were still close, but Texans, they could use another wide receiver. Like they've had a really good offense, but they're putting together with like the likes of Noah Brown, Nico Collins, Tank Dell. I think is going to be the real deal. Brian Thomas is solid. Adonai Mitchell. I like Ladd McConkey. He is not to do the white guy comparison, but he is very much that shifty. Can play just about any role. Reminds you a little bit of Cooper Kupp, but he's just a beast. And I really like what he would bring to that offense. Detroit Lions are up. They are probably going to change their offensive coordinator. But they've got great running backs. They've got pretty good wide receivers. They've got a stud, and I think they've got guys that could be third wide receivers. You probably want someone to come in as the number 2 to drop the rest of them down. They could use help on the defensive side. They need to figure out if Jared Goff's the long-term answer. Is this where you take Bo Nix and build behind him? I don't know. I mean, Jared Goff's like 31, 30. We're gonna Jared Goff age 29. Okay, never mind. We're not going to take a quarterback here. We are going to build that secondary up a little bit, and I'm going to give them Kalen King from Penn State. Miami's up. They need offensive line help. There is no other answer. Mims, giving them an offensive tackle. Dallas is up. They have been absolutely elite on offense this year, with maybe like 2 weeks that are an exception. But they need offensive line help. And I'm going to give them Fatanu because he just shouldn't drop anymore. And lastly, in this round, you've got the 49ers. They also need offensive line help. So Matai, I think is how you say it. Or Graham Barton. I'm going to give them Graham Barton from Duke. He is strong. Brian Thomas probably doesn't make it out of the first round. That's my first thing that I'm seeing that's wrong. Leonard Taylor, I think, is a first-round pick. And Bo Nix, because he's a quarterback. If the other ones go, he's probably going to get drafted towards the end. Someone will trade up for him. And Emeka Ibuka, he's another elite wide receiver. It's going to be an interesting draft. I'm not convinced. This is obviously not going to be right. But I think it's going to be a lot of trades for these quarterbacks and for these wide receivers. They're very high value positions and talent level. But, let me know what you think down in the comments. Let me know who your team is and who you hope they pick. But I appreciate y'all being here. Thanks so much for sticking with me through the 2023 season. I'm going to put out some playoff information, some stuff with the coaching carousels. But I'm looking forward to a good offseason. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see y'all next time.